Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Andrew.
I'm Emily.
That's Jacob the intern back there, and we're talking about the new Hobbit trailer, Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, part 1 of a new trilogy coming out. So the trailer just came out today. People are very excited. Emily has expressed her initial thoughts. Okay. I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
So to me, it looks like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So if you like those a lot, then you'll probably like this. That's how.
Yeah. And I've read the book. I haven't read it since maybe 6th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
So this won't be one of those trailer reviews where we go through everything and say like, oh, that's blah 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 and that's blah blah blah. It's just an initial reaction and all that stuff.
Yeah. And again, we're reviewing the trailer, not the movie.
Yeah. And I have to admit too, I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm not a Peter Jackson fan in general. Like,
yeah,
I think some of his early films are a lot of fun. I think Lord of the Rings was really bloated. The guy needs to find an editor.
See, I think the Lord of the Rings, I think that they're a huge creative achievement. So back off, internet. But I'm just not huge into them. It's not.
I think they're more of an endurance achievement, like the fact that he made 3 films that were somewhat coherent.
I'm a huge fan.
Of the ranges,
yeah. So just attack me and Andrew. So obviously,
I listened to the audiobooks of The Hobbit on my phone last year, so pretty recently.
Now, question, and this may be spoiler alert. The idea I'm getting from the trailer is that a lot of this does it deal a lot with the politics of Middle Earth?
The book?
Yeah, because it began with him talking about Gandalf talking about how the dwarves are trying to get their land back.
Well.
No, I'm serious. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what the movie's about.
The same thing as the
They're-
Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, well, like I mean,
There's
it's.
a council.
I don't know if the Hobbit is more buried in mythos. Or
I actually don't think so.
mythology.
I think they're, from what I remember The Hobbit, and I remember really loving The Hobbit in like 5th grade, and then I read
I like
Lord of the Rings
visitors
trilogy
as
in
much as the
high.
next
There was a buoyancy and just a funness to The Hobbit that wasn't there in Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings takes itself very seriously. I was actually very happy with this trailer, this was the last trailer, showing that buoyancy and showing that kind of sense of adventure and fun and humor.
It is a really fun trailer.
Yeah, this trailer they really went for like the swashbuckling adventure kind of feel,
which I think is great. I was when they announced Guillermo del Toro was going to be the director of this initially, I was really excited because I was like, at least he'll bring that, because Peter Jackson seems to overblow every scene with like just a deep-rooted seriousness.
Yeah.
Well, the dwarves, their story is more lighthearted than the other characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is
that's
really
part of what The Hobbit's about.
Yeah.
It's playing off the adventure. This like obviously looks like the first third of the Lord of the Rings when they're
Yeah.
in the Shire and things
Yeah.
like that. So
I'm just happy that even though Peter
The tone
Jackson
is carrying.
maintained directing duties and everything, he still carried that tone.
and especially after the last trailer, which was very kind of somber.
Yeah.
It's cool, and Martin Freeman I think is a really
Brilliant.
nice
I was really championing him to play Bilbo. He was just being
yeah, he's a great actor.
very happy. That
So there's Kate Blanchett as an elf, looking great.
No, they're not a huge part. I think they just.
I
From what I remember, it's just like part of the journey, like a little blip, and to get
Yeah.
because mainly it's about getting to the dragon.
And it's cool.
Yeah,
It's cool. I think, especially. I mean, for Lord of the Rings fans, obviously there's a lot of overlap. It's the same world. It's just a few years earlier. So Hugo Weaving is back as Elf King. I don't know what his actual name is. We know that Orlando Bloom is coming back as Legolas. So there will be a lot of fun kind of. And if you said that it's kind of like a journey where they run into people.
Right.
It'll be a lot like they're running into people that we know.
Yeah,
kind of Lord of the Rings. The journey.
It'll be like a Lord of the Rings Muppet movie.
That's actually something I'm kind of worried about. When they announced that this was going to be 3 movies, I was already like, really, you're going to make it 2 movies, and now it's going to be 3.
It's a lot of movies.
It's unnecessary, and Peter Jackson actually bragged about it at Comic-Con. He said like, oh, I really haven't really learned how to really streamline things, how to edit things, and then everybody kind of laughed and applauded because he turned King Kong. Initially an 89-minute movie
Into an over 3
into
hours.
like a movie that was over 3 hours, and he didn't add anything to it.
And then there was the
If you think
director's
about
cut
it.
that was longer.
Yeah, and the director's cut is the one I referred to. I think it's like almost 3 hours. Completely unnecessary. The guy needs an editor. He needs to figure out pace. He needs to understand what scenes come after the scene he shot and before the scene he shot. I feel like
As
he's
opposed
just
to just showing them?
Yeah, as opposed to just like laying them on. And
Yeah.
I remember, like I've only ever seen the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings movies, maybe once or twice, but
Yeah.
Did you think the Lord of drug out though. I thought it was all very really. I loved it.
I thought that. I mean, but again, like, someone like I love the Harry Potter movies, and some people thought
I'm
that
a bigger Lord of the Rings fan.
some people thought that the and not to compare the two, but some people thought that the seventh Harry Potter movie like was really dragging on, and I didn't feel so at all. So if you're like really into the world, it doesn't feel that way at all. I have differing feelings. I think Peter Jackson is obviously technically a very good director. I happen to enjoy his kind of earlier like B movie level things, like The Frighteners and things like that. I think that he's a little more apt, I guess, in terms of storytelling when it comes to that. Especially, and I think The Lovely Bones is kind of a mess and testament to that.
One of the worst films of that year.
Yeah, but so Andy Serkis is back as Gollum, or you know.
Serkis is my favorite part of the trailer. Yes.
Yeah,
This definitely seems to be the biggest button of the trailer, you know, button, like when they stop all the music and then somebody says something and then they go back.
Yeah,
I will say this.
It's funny,
I'm looking at this version of Gollum, and it looks a lot like the original. Obviously, it's the same character, but I mean in terms of the effects, which says a lot for what the effects were when those movies came out.
Yeah, that could have easily been a shot from the third movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't have questioned it at all, and it's really is impressive.
I love that Gollum's still a big part in the Hobbit. It's,
yeah.
You know, he's like.
Again, lending to that feel for audiences that it's like, you know, here's someone we know, here's someone else we know.
I don't know. He's pretty important in the other Lord of the Rings. But he is very important.
He's a big character in The Hobbit, but I think his like role is more important in the Lord of the Rings, or at least that's what I remember. Like he was more vital to the Lord of the Rings. But I don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm looking forward to seeing Andy Serkis do that voice a lot. So here's the button, the real button on the trailer, which I described as the bonk. It's a real bonk trailer.
I know people might be like, oh, that's weird, but I like the fact that they're kind of putting that buoyancy in
I think, I mean,
in Middle Earth.
It's coming out December 14th. It's a holiday movie. People are going to be going with their families. It only makes sense that they would show this side of the movie. I mean, people want to bring kids. And from the last trailer, it looked really somber and potentially boring.
Yeah.
I thought the other one was just more artsy take on it.
Yeah.
And this is more like.
And now they're like,
how it's going to be.
They're like, no.
How are they going to break up the 3 movies, though?
That's
apparently they're including appendices.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've
Dragon's
heard.
not going to happen for like.
My very
until
inside
they have all of your money.
My very inside source from Warner Brothers, my roommate, says that yes, they're including part of the appendices from the Lord of the Rings into this movie. It's not just The Hobbit, because The Hobbit obviously I don't think is enough to make it a 3.
It's hardly. I mean, it's enough to make 1 movie. It's hardly enough to make 2.
Which questions like? Well, I mean, money. They're
that's
going
really
to
all
make.
it is.
I would still
They
watch
are
all
going
3.
to make a mint on this movie. So you know what? And good for them. They should.
I'm obviously not the target audience.
I personally, I would have liked to see Guillermo del Toro's take, just because I feel like,
Would have been very interesting.
you know, Peter Jackson made 3 Lord of the Rings movies. This looks like the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. It would have been like a little more interesting, but it, you know, I mean, it makes complete sense why they would get him. Jacob, what do you think?
Jacob.
What do you think? The Hobbit.
The Hobbit? I love The Hobbit.
All right.
Shut up, Jacob. So, you know, it's really interesting in this shot, too, because this guy, the troll, he looks like the Blob in Left 4 Dead. The Blob guy, you know,
Yeah. So maybe.
You mean the
That's
they're
my
doing
take.
some-
You mean the
maybe some-
boomer?
Yes,
Jacob.
the boomer.
Jacob, we didn't ask. We don't need
Boomer.
comments from the peanut gallery. Anyway, so
God.
The Hobbit comes out December 14th. Please let us know what you think by commenting below. We will be commenting back.
Let us know
starting
how
the
much you hate
conversation.
us for not
What
being
about
on board
the
the
60?
How
Hobbit.
much
We
you
were
love me?
diplomatic.
Oh, let's talk about the 60
48.
FPS. Let's hate that for a minute, too.
I mean, I didn't notice it in this.
Well,
but
this is a 24.
Apparently, they were going to project it in 48 frames per second. They're really cutting down on the amount of theaters they're doing that in.
Yeah.
After the Comic-Con reception.
Well, they showed a lot of it apparently in Las Vegas a while ago, and just the reception was horrible.
It was not great. They described it as watching like one of those TVs in Best Buy that has 240 hertz turned on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't think it'll affect the gross of it.
No, it'll only add to the gross because, you know, it's part of that whole 3D bandwagon. And honestly, like, for not so much for The Hobbit, but like for Avatar 2, the only way they're ever going to draw people into Avatar 2, I think, I mean, even though it's the highest grossing movie ever, nobody really cares about the story.
Right.
You know, they care about the experience, the events
Right.
of it. people like James Cameron and Peter Jackson, they showed what they could show with 3D, and now that people aren't really that keen on 3D, they're like, no, you only saw half of it.
Yeah.
You really need to see 3D with 48 frames a second. That's the truth. Like, I feel like there's always another trick in their freaking bag on technology, and I don't think it's ever going to amount to anything.
We're actually shooting this at 60 frames per second. So
Yeah.
we'll get to
So we'll
see.
see.
I don't know.
That was another.
I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed
That
by
was another
that. Like, make a good
lesson
movie.
from
Shut up.
Professor Andrew. So yeah, that's the trailer. Again, comment below. We will be commenting back. So keep the conversation going, and
Yeah.
thank you for watching. I'm
Hate us
Ryan.
a lot, Andrew.
Emily.